Assalamualaikum everyone. आज हम करेंगे physics paper 2 practice. Yes, physics. We've completed bio. We've gone over chemistry. So I figured कि हम difficult topics, difficult questions आज physics के solve कर लेते हैं. You know what I'm saying? If you guys have any questions, do let me know. And let's just get into the video. अच्छा यार, तो first of all, I just wanted to say Eid Mubarak to everyone. I'm gonna be recording this like before Eid. Matter of fact, मैंने अभी 3-4 घंटों में ईद की नमाज पढ़ दी है, तो I don't know why I'm so hyper to record a video, bruh. Hope all of the viewers watching have a blessed Eid, you know. So let's just start solving this shit, okay? A drag force on a car increases with speed at 20 meters per second. The total drag force is 400. The mass of the car is 1200. And the driving force is 700. अब देखो इस तरह का सवाल आता है. You just gotta like envision all those values in your mind, you know what I'm saying? So which statement about the acceleration of the car at 20 meters per second is correct? You might be wondering, why am I recording a video at 3 a.m.? I mean, by now you guys must have figured this out. The last two videos, I don't know what has been happening to my sleep schedule, man. Okay, anyways, so let's just envision this over here. Over here, we're gonna have the car with a driving force of 700 newtons and a drag force of 400 newtons. So what can we infer? We can see that the resultant force is gonna be the difference between these two forces. एक force right की तरफ push कर रही है, एक दूसरी की तरफ pull कर रही है, तो they're gonna minus. We're gonna see that resultant force becomes 300 newtons. Now the formula for calculating acceleration is gonna be derived from this one. F is equal to m times a. अब ये याद रखना यार, मुझे याद है मैंने अपना 2022 का पेपर दिया था for IGCSE, and over there was a question that came up like this, and you need to keep in mind that this F over here is always going to be resultant force. When you calculate F is equal to ma, it's always for the resultant force. Over here we're going to see that acceleration is force divided by mass. Ek second, my cat wants to enter the room. Anyways, so over here we can see F is equal to 300 newtons divided by m, which is going to be 1200, I believe. It was written in the question. That's going to amount to 0.25. Now to distinguish between the part A and B, you gotta know that over here, drag force is increasing with speed. Ab dekho, just think about it, okay? If we have the drag force increasing, pehle 400 tha, phir idhar aake thoda sa 500 ho gaya, phir idhar aake 600 ho gaya. So what is happening? The resultant force is becoming less and less. Pehle 200 ho jayega, phir 100 ho jayega. So we can see over here, agar hamare paas resultant force kam ho jayega, that means this decreases in value. The acceleration should ultimately also decrease. You can also think of it like this. If you look at this relationship, mass वैसी constant है. If the resultant force is decreasing, acceleration is decreasing. Or जब acceleration decrease होती है, what do we call that? We call that option A. It will decrease as the time passes. Okay, next question. An object is rising vertically at a constant speed through water. There are three vertical forces acting on it by W, D, and U. तो हमने अभी क्या बात की थी? D is the frictional force. Upward force हमारे पास U होगा, which is usually up thrust. And we have weight. Which diagram shows the direction and magnitude of the vertical forces? सबसे easy question है. I don't know why this is even hard. Weight always acts downwards, so you gotta know कि weight नीचे, weight नीचे, weight नीचे, weight नीचे. Oh, इन लोगों ने तो सारा weight नीचे दिया हुआ है. Next up, if you guys didn't catch that, we can see that this is rising vertically at constant speed. Agar speed jo hoti hai, if that is constant, what does that mean? Is the acceleration zero? Yes. Acceleration over here is going to be zero. If the acceleration is zero, that essentially means कि हमारे पास resultant force है वो भी zero है. Why? Because we looked at the equation. याद है F is equal to ma. तो अगर acceleration zero है, तो फिर anything multiplied with zero is zero. F is also zero. So we can see over here, all these forces should add up to become zero. 3 नीचे की तरफ, 1 or 2 ऊपर की तरफ. So this might be an option. 1 नीचे की तरफ, 3 plus 2 is too much. It's not going to be an option. 1 plus 3 is 4. Not going to be an option. 1 plus 2 is 3 newtons. And over here we can see that up thrust 3 newtons. So this can be an option. So हमारे पास A और D रह गया. So which one is it going to be? Now logically we know that up thrust ऊपर की तरफ ही होता है. Okay. But what about the drag? What do you guys recall from the last question? I'm going to give you guys time to think, ठीक है? Never mind. देखो, drag जो होता है, that is always going to be opposing the movement. और movement किस तरफ हो रही है? Rising vertically. You see that? Bro, physics makes sense. You just got to understand it a bit. तो हमारे पास क्या होगा कि drag should be acting downwards since it's moving upwards, so it has to be D. So basically, what is the refractive index of this plastic? अब देखो हमारे पास पहले हो क्या रहा है? Right off the bat, you can see we are asked to find the refractive index, so there is only one formula, which is going to be sine C. C क्या होता है? Critical angle. I'll tell you guys about that. यार इस बंदे का क्या सीन है? Now to understand critical angle, बस ये पता होना चाहिए कि अगर हमारे पास जो angle of incidence है, that is less than the critical angle, फिर जो है ना वो रिफ्रैक्ट करेगा लाइट. और इफ इट्स मोर देन द क्रिटिकल एंगल, फिर हमारे पास वो लाइट क्या होगी, वो टोटल इंटरनल रिफ्लेक्शन हो जाएगा. अब जो क्रिटिकल एंगल होता है दैट्स ऑलवेज मेजर्ड रिलेटिव टू द नॉर्मल. नॉर्मल याद है वो जो परपेंडिकुलर सी लाइन होती थी जो हम बनाते थे इस तरह की. तो क्रिटिकल एंगल जो होता है ना वो हमेशा ये वाला मेजर होता है बिटवीन द रे एंड द नॉर्मल. ये पता नहीं क्या बनाया मैंने लोगों ने. So to find this out, we're going to do 90 minus 36, which is going to give us the answer as 54 degrees. अब साइन सी पे आपने साइन 54 डाल देना है, ठीक है, इज इक्वल टू 1 over n, and then you can just rearrange this 1 over sine 54, and this should give you the value as c. Hopefully this is clear. Anyways, moving on, the graph shows the relationship between the current in a circuit component and the potential difference across it. So the graph has a straight section and a curved section. What happens to the resistance of the component in these two sections as the current increases? This is a very typical description of a filament lamp. Filament lamp पे हमारे पास क्या होता है, उसका जो symbol होता है इस तरह दिखता है. In the filament lamp, the current that is going to be initially passing through it, सारा कुछ सही जा रहा होगा, but after some time, the temperature of the bulb increases. And when the temperature increases, that directly translates to the resistance of the component increasing. ठीक है, और जब resistance increase करता है, that leads to the current decreasing. Why? याद है, you guys remember that equation V is equal to IR, ठीक है, और अगर हम I को सब्जेक्ट बनाए V over R, ठीक है, और अगर वोल्टेज कांस्टेंट मिल रही है बैटरी से, if the resistance is increasing, I should decrease because it's a inverse relationship. Enough about the relationship, let's talk about the answer. अब हमारे पास इस सेक्शन में everything's going normally और इस सेक्शन में जो है ना टेम्परेचर बढ़ रहा है. So in the straight section कुछ भी नहीं हो रहा, and in the curved section resistance is increasing. It should be 27D. Okay, moving on, a wire is moved across a magnetic field. This causes an induced current. The induced current interacts with the magnetic field to produce a force on the wire. In which direction is the force? Now let me show this to you guys. Let's say we have a north pole over here, ठीक है, and we have a wire. Now when we move this wire towards the north pole, ठीक है, क्या होता है कि एक current induce होता है, and that current is going to be induced in such a way कि wire के अंदर भी अपना magnetic field आ जाता है, and that magnetic field is going to be again produced in such a way कि वो magnetic field oppose करता है उसी magnetic field को. So instead of moving towards it, the wire will actually start moving away from it, ठीक है, and this is also termed as Lenz's law, ठीक है, and this is going to be in the opposite direction of the movement of the wire. It's going to be option D. Achha, moving on, several scientists are working on a lab. The scientists are experimenting with sources which emit ionizing radiation, blah, blah, blah. The 3 of the rules are shown. Keep at least 2 meters away from other people. Do not stay longer than 4 hours per day in the lab. Stay behind the lead-lined screen. Which safety rules are for protection against the effects of ionizing radiation? Now let's go over the options. Keep at least 2 meters away from other people. I mean, are you the radiation source? I don't think you're the radiation source. Like, technically, हमारे पास एक source होगा that's going to be emitting bad boys, and then that's going to be you that will unfortunately fall victim to it. लेकिन if you just go around, यार like ये कोई COVID virus नहीं है कि तुम दूसरे लोगों से इतना दूर होगे तो फिर बचोगे. You just gotta stay away from the source, man. So I don't think one should be the option. So we're just left with, wait. Oh, we just reached. Okay, guys. I didn't think CIE would be this generous, but the answer is right here. It's going to be 2 and 3. Do not stay. That makes sense. Do not stay longer when cancer ho jayega, and stay behind the lead line screen because lead protects against radiation. Okay, next question. 2 quantities define Hubble's constant. We have speed at which the galaxy is moving away from the Earth, V, and we're going to have the distance of the galaxy from the Earth, D. What is the relationship between V and D and the current estimate of H? ठीक है, ये तो वैसे ही आना चाहिए. This is like common sense. You will learn कि हमारे पास जो Hubble's constant होता है, that's marked at these two values, 2.2 times 10 to the power minus 18. So it's not going to be C or D. And relationship is going to be V is proportional to D. And that also makes sense because the further away a galaxy, a कोई universal celestial body होती है, the faster it is moving. And that is defined by the Hubble's formula, which states V is equal to hd. ठीक है, we can see कि अगर ये constant है, so V is proportional to D. Achha, next question. A train is horizontally in a straight line, traveling, book is on the table, blah, blah, blah. Diagram shows the forces acting on the book. How is the train moving? Now, the best way to conceptualize this is imagine कि तुम कोई बस में हो, ठीक है, and suddenly the driver starts moving forward. तो तुम्हें क्या होगा, तुम्हें थोड़ा सा झटका लगेगा पीछे की तरफ. Why does that happen? That happens because of inertia. So we can see over here clearly that the upward contact force is balancing the weight of the book, which keeps it stable. However, we can see towards the right हमारे पास एक frictional force है which is pushing it this way, right? So the book wants to move to the right. Now, since the book wants to move to the right, इसका ये मतलब है कि the train that it is in that should also be moving to the right. Why? क्योंकि since the train moves to the right side, तो फिर book की natural tendency होगी, which we call inertia, to slip towards the left. And to support that, we have the frictional force, which is keeping it moving over here. That is why हमारे पास train जो है ना, it's going to be accelerating not to the left, it's going to be accelerating to the right. Okay, next up, which row about the change of energy in the energy store must be correct? So let's go over these processes. Water pumped up to a high altitude dam. Okay, and over here we'll see gravitational potential energy change is increasing. So when we're pumping up water to a high altitude dam, इस तरह हमारे पास एक damn, ठीक है? We're seeing that as you gain height, we have the formula for gravitational potential energy, mgh. जितना ज़्यादा height increase करेगा, जितना ज़्यादा energy increase करेगी. So this should increase, and yes, I feel like A should be the answer. However, दूसरे options भी देख लेते हैं. I'm gonna circle A for now. Water pumped up to a high altitude dam, इसमें kinetic energy decrease करेगी. Actually, this is not true because we don't know. Okay, speed शायद अगर बहुत तेजी से pump हो रहा है, then the kinetic store might be increasing. Kinetic store does not actually depend on the height, right? So yeah. अच्छा, anyways, हमारे पास air passes through a wind turbine, उससे GPE. Again, this has nothing to do with GPE. Air passes through a wind turbine. Kinetic energy of the air increases. Air तो वैसे ही रहेगा. The wind turbine's kinetic energy increases, but not the air's. So this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. It's A. A diagram shows a ray of light entering a glass box, which calculation gives the refractive index. अभी तो हमने उसकी बात की थी. First of all, we need to identify which one's the angle of incidence, which is the angle of reflection. Angle of incidence हमारे पास, again, always relative to the normal. This is going to be 90 minus 50. Why 90? Because this is a perpendicular angle. ठीक है? Don't confuse this. This should be 40. And we can see refraction is as it is. Yes, it should be 25. हमारे पास n का formula होता है sin I, okay, over sin R. And we can see over here that the I is 40 and the R is 25. The diagram shows the current voltage graph for a metal wire. What can be deduced from the graph? We can see कि हमारे पास एक बहुत direct relationship है. As the voltage increases, current increases, okay? As voltage increases, temperature of the wire increases. Now, why is this not true? This is not true क्योंकि अगर temperature बढ़ रहा होता तो फिर current की value कम हो जाती, which would lead to a graph that looks essentially like this. एक voltage है, current है, it's going to look like the one that we did before. It's going to be sloping downwards, so it's not A. As voltage increases, the temperature of the wire decreases. Again, इधर कोई correlation नहीं है because that would change the current. As voltage increases, resistance of the wire increases. Again, there is no correlation over here because if the resistance was increasing, the current would start sloping down, okay? बस यही point है. As voltage increases, resistance remains constant. That should be it, क्योंकि if you look over here, V is equal to IR, and if R is constant, plus V or I directly proportional हो जाते हैं, okay? And as a result of that, we're gonna see this straight line.